Hello, welcome to this video series on MDX for SQL developers. I'm Nasir Ali Mirza at DoSQLBI.com. In this presentation, we'll talk about MDX query filters. This series is about building MDX skills in SQL developers. In the previous sessions, we have seen OLTP database and its comparison with the OLAP database. We have gone through MDX terminology and rules. We also saw the joins and how MDX joins are different from SQL joins. In this video, which is about MDX query filters, we'll see where all we can add a filter in the MDX queries. We'll see them within the sets, we'll see the filter function, and we'll see the where clause. So first, we want to look at where all can we add the filter condition. On the screen, you see different positions numbered as number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The first one shows how inside the tuple for each attribute that we use, we can add a filter. We'll see the examples of these. Number 2 points to the having clause. So for each set, we can have the having clause and then the condition after that. The third option to add filters in the MDX queries is a where clause. So where clause, again, we can define a set. That set can have one or more tuple. So we'll see an example of this as well. In MDX, we have the function filter function. So we will see filter function example as well. And then the fifth way to add the filters in the MDX query is range operators. So we have two range operators. One is with the symbol minus, another is colon, and we'll get to see examples of all of these. So this was to just quickly point out where in the MDX query we can add the filters based on our requirement. The next one is we see where within the set in an MDX query how to use them. Let's see some examples about that. So within a set, we can define it as part of the filter in the tuple with the range operators and with the having clause. We'll see examples of each of these. Let me switch to SQL Management Studio. You see a SQL query which is reading the data from dim geography and the region name, and we have added a filter condition saying where region name is equal to Australia. So as expected, when I run this query, I see one row in the output with the name Australia. Now let's run the equivalent MDX query. I have the query already written, and what we do in this is I have one access in this, a set made of one tuple, which is geography, country, and here is where I add the data member Australia with the attribute country. So when I run this query, I see the same output as I saw in this SQL query where the where clause was added. What is intended to be shown here is that the filtering can be added as part of the tuple definition in an MDX query. Let's see a different example to this. In this query, it has two accesses. Access 0 is empty, and on access 1, I am referring to geography dimension and then the country attribute hierarchy, and then I am using that same attribute hierarchy in my where condition. Now let's run this query. I'm getting the error the country hierarchy already appears in access 1. If you remember from the MDX rules, we say that same hierarchy cannot be repeated across accesses. So what we have done is we have used this particular hierarchy, which is geography.country already, and we are repeating it in another access, which is where access. So that is not permitted. And now what we could do is we could see that how we can avoid violation of that rule and then run that query. Having another example of the query, which is same as the above, except on my access 1, I am again referring to country, but it is, let's see which hierarchy is that. So I will go to geography dimension, and then I have country here as well. Now what I am doing is on access 1, I am referring to this country which belongs to this hierarchy, and then on the filter condition, which is the where clause, I am referring to this particular attribute hierarchy. So that way I am not violating the rule that I'm referring to same attribute hierarchy across the accesses. Let's run this particular query. It is running successfully. The reason this is running successfully is because hierarchy is not getting repeated. The reason this one is erroring out is because same attribute hierarchy is used across the accesses. Let's continue with the examples. I've switched it to SQL window. Here what I'm doing is from the dim geography, I'm saying where English country region name in Australia or Canada. So a basic SQL query. So I'm getting 2 rows as an output. Let us see how to do a MDX equivalent of that. So this is a set which has 2 tuples. One has with the data filter as Australia. The second one has a data filter with Canada. Now I run this query. I'm getting these 2 rows as an output. The next example we are going to see is the range operator. In SQL, when we have this between clause that we can use, so the query is saying where English country region name between Australia and Germany. When I'm running this query, I see everything that comes between these 2 names. Let's see the MDX. So this colon is a range operator. Range operator, how we use this is in an access within a set, I say the starting member and I say the ending member. So my starting member is Australia, the ending member is Germany. When I run this query, I get the output which is all the countries between Australia and Germany. I have another SQL example where in the filter condition I am saying English country region name between Australia and France, or English country region name between United Kingdom and United States. So let's run this query. I'm again getting a list of 5 values, and when I come here I have an MDX example. Let's see how that example is created. So on access 0 I have this as one range where it starts with Australia and ends with France. Then I'm having another range which is starting with United Kingdom and ending with United States. So let's run this query. I'm getting the same result set here. Just remember, MDX queries are run against the analysis services database and the SQL queries are run against the SQL database. The reason to run SQL and MDX to just get more understanding from a SQL developer point of view that how are these MDX queries constructed and how they relate with the SQL queries. I have one more example. In this example, what you see again in MDX, the range operator is being used. The range operator requires a specific data member to start, and then specific data member that where it has to end. But what we see in this example is instead of specifying any particular data member, it's referring all the members. So this is going to return the tuple set. Okay, let's run this query. I'm getting error. Now this is saying a tuple set expression was used. So this is going to return a set of values. It's not returning me a specific value that a range operator needs to know where from to start. Now if I replace this with a particular member, for example Germany. Oh, I had Germany again at the end, but we can still run it. So we got Germany as an output. In this SQL example, we are using again dim geography and saying where English country region name not equal to Germany. So let's run this query. So I see the output which has the list of country names excluding Germany in that. And let's see how we can do the MDX equivalent. On access 1, I have a set where I say I want all the children of geography dimension attribute country excluding, which is this minus sign, excluding this particular data member, which is Germany. Let's run this query. So again, we see a list of countries that excludes the name of the country that we wanted to exclude. Just note here, when we use this notation, it expects the first parameter to be the tuple set, and then anything what we want to be excluded as the following. Let's try this. I'm asking it to list all the children of a country attribute, and then I want something to be excluded. If in the exclusion I copy all the children's again and then see what happens, nothing is produced because this exclusion has all the members, which takes away everything that the first set could produce. In this another example, the filter in the SQL query is saying where English country region name not in Australia or France. Let's run this query. So we get the list of country names excluding Australia and France. Let's see how we can do a similar filtering in the MDX query. I have an example written already. So I'm saying I want the result set, which is countries, children means all the members, and then I'm excluding two members from that. I'm excluding Germany and I'm again excluding France. Let's run this query. So as expected, I got the list of countries, excluded those which I have put as an exclusion list. Let's try to do this. We say Australia and we get rid of this much. I'm saying produce a result set which is using this exclusion operator, which is like not in France, and I run this query. I get an error. I get an error saying the function expects a tuple set for the first argument. So it expects this to be a tuple set, not a specific data member. So that's why it's producing the this error. But if I change this particular operator to this range operator and I run this query, now it is successful. So that's how you use this colon operator as a range operator, and the other one first argument got to be the tuple set. Another interesting example. So we are trying to mix up few things what we have seen so far as in filter conditioning. On x is 0, what we are doing is we are listing the product category children, and the measure we are using is internet order quantity. We are having in the filter condition having where product category is not equal to components and product category is not equal to clothing. And then on another axis we are saying we want to see sales territory country, Australia to France, that's the operator we have used, and whatever is the result produced by these two, we want to exclude from that Canada. Let's run this query. So we got accessories and bikes, and components and clothing are not included. If I first comment out this, say I want to include clothing, and right now you see only accessories and bikes. I run this query again. Now I see clothing also. If I again comment out this one, now I should see components also. I see components, but that has no data inside that. That's kind of how we can combine different types of filters and put them in the query as is required. I'm Nasir Ali Mirza at DoSQLBI.com.